Hello, everybody. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back for another episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I am your host, Kyle Walker. My pleasure to be with you as always. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope everyone's having a good weekend. We are now, I'd say, officially in what we call the dog days of summer. If you think back to last weekend, we had 2 races and oh my goodness, it was so hot. I've never sweat so much in my life. The Stars and Stripes 5K and 4 on the 4th, they were just ridiculous. Oh my goodness. It's so hot. Anyway, I don't have to tell you guys that. I am assuming most of our listeners are in the Midwest. And so you know just how hot it is. But hey, last week's episode, I know I kind of went on a little bit of a limb with just venturing some of my own personal opinions about the goings on in the world. You know, I appreciate that I've gotten positive feedback. Nobody's been too inflamed or upset. That was never my intention. It was simply one guy's opinion, and that's all it was. So just wanted to say thank you to everyone for being so cool and chill about it. I think a lot of people agreed, and even if you didn't, it was put to me nicely, and that's all I care about. Little common decency, man. That's all I need in life, and I'm good to go. So this weekend, what do we have going on? Well, it's actually been a really busy weekend. Now, first off, I'm going to apologize if my voice sounds a little off. We're going to get to that in a minute, but I know that I probably sound a little funny to you, and my voice might kind of kick in and out. But first off, we had Saturday morning, we had the Gardner Police Department Law Dog 5K and 10K, and I did the 10K, and my daughters, the Back of the Packettes, as I call them, they both did their first official 10Ks. So that was really cool. It was actually a decent morning. We had some cloud cover. We had mid 70s, a little breeze. It wasn't terrible. I mean, it's still hot. It's not going to not be hot, but we've certainly had much worse as of late. Now, this race, it's its 3rd year, and a lot of people like it, and I liked it. I like the race. I like the course. I like the area of town that it's in. It's pretty well organized. You know, it's not one of the biggest races around. And as you can tell, I'm trying to choose my words carefully. I have gripes with the race, but I don't really place a lot of the blame on the race, if that makes a lot of sense. So here's what happened. Here was the situation. The course was not safe. Now, they will be the first to tell you the course was not safe. They have sent out apologetic posts and messages after the race saying, holy crap, we found out the course wasn't safe. That's unacceptable. We are really sorry that the course wasn't safe. And really, in my life, all I need is ownership. If someone makes a mistake and you take ownership of your mistake, then you're cool in my book. You don't even have to ask for forgiveness. I will pretty much just give it to you if you own where you messed up. Well, they messed up. They had volunteers who weren't where they were supposed to be. So roads were left unmonitored. Trucks, construction trucks who were just trying to go from one site to the other were all up and down the course. Like it was really quite scary at points. And again, I was doing the 10K and my daughters were doing the 10K. So I had a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old who were running with trucks whizzing by them. That was not okay. Like, that's not cool, man. Thankfully, the truck drivers all really kind of seemed to be on their game. The runners were fully aware of the situation because it wasn't hard to figure out. So we runners were all the way to the sides of the road because it was an out and back for the first half of the 10K. And so we used both sides of the road. Well, whichever side you're on, you were hugging that side with, all you had. And there were definitely times where the trucks were really getting congested. So I had to kind of off-road a little bit and run on the shoulder of the road, which is just, gravel, a little dirt, whatever you might find. But yeah, due to just people not being where they were supposed to be, we really had a hard time, especially with the 10K, with these trucks and traffic, and just the fact that these roads were not closed to traffic, and there was traffic freely flowing from point A to point B while we were all on that course. And it was pretty nerve-wracking at times. So that was a big gripe that I had with them, but I emphasize they took ownership of that situation. They understand that there was a botch, there was a mess up, things were not as they were supposed to be, and so they owned it. So, okay, all right, so I'm just letting you know that happened, but I'm not holding it against them. Our other problem, and again, this goes down to volunteers not being where they were supposed to be, the aid stations were left unmanned. There was nobody there. We would go, I ran by the aid station. It was one cooler, it was one table, and it was an unopened package of cups. And that was it. There was not a single solitary soul pouring water into those cups. There was no one there trying to cheer on runners or help them out. It just was stuff sitting on the table. And there was nobody that went out there to do anything about it. So that was certainly a bad situation. But at least for me, when I came back around to that aid station, I stopped and I opened up the thing of cups and I poured out, 3, 4, 5 of them for the people behind me, took one myself. Like, I don't care about my finishing time when I need a drink. Like, I needed a drink and I just wanted to help a few of the folks around me. So I poured a few out and left them on the table, went along my merry way. Well, we continue on and we come to the second aid station. It sounds like it was the same problem. Now, credit to this man, whoever this man is, I give you credit, sir. There was a guy working the aid station and I said, oh man, thanks for being there. The last one didn't have anybody. He's like, well, I wasn't supposed to be here. I was supposed to just be put up a barricade. But then I saw that runners were going and there was no one here and there was no water out. So I'm like, well, you can't have runners running without them getting water. So this guy, out of the goodness of his heart, stayed there and played aid station. He filled up the water and he was handing them out to runners as quick as he could, just this one guy by himself. And he had his son over there monitoring the road and telling cars, turn away, don't go up this road. So a credit to that gentleman as well. So those are my 2 gripes with the race. Other than that, I thought it was a great race. I will certainly go do it again next year. The race is to benefit a police dog, the one police dog of the Gardner Police Department. His name is Zeus. We did finally get to talk to the officer who is the canine officer who owns is the right term, who owns Zeus. Of course, he was super busy. We wanted to try and record him, but that just didn't happen because he was so busy. But he did talk to us at the end just real quick. And y'all, I'm going to let you know, and I'm not trying to get this officer in trouble, and I'm trying not to divulge any personal information. The amount of funds that he gets in order for this police department to have this police dog is insultingly low. The funds that he gets is not enough to cover my 2 dogs for probably a 6-month period, let alone a highly trained and specialized police dog. This is just my opinion. I feel he should get more for this dog service, and he doesn't. So they had this fundraiser, the Law Dog 5K, to try and raise funds. They're trying to raise funds for the police dog and to also build more training facilities and housing facilities for local police dogs, not just in Gardner. Because as he said, and I never thought about this, if the officer wants to go on vacation, you cannot take a highly trained police dog and take him to Woof's. I mean, you can't take him to doggy daycare and drop him off for a week. That's not how this works. You can't put that kind of a dog in that kind of just a, as my producer said, in gen pop, in general population, or I thought in my head and I thought I was funny, gen pup. He can't be in gen pup. And so they're trying to build a place where police dogs can stay, be taken care of, and their officers, their owners can maybe take a few days off, go out of town. Because the officer in Gardner said he hasn't left town in 6 years. And he can't because no one else can watch this dog. And there's not a good place for them to go. So it made sense. So I am super glad that we were able to go to that race. I'm glad that it is for such a good cause. And then, we'll definitely be back. Now, a couple days before the race, you might have seen us. If you did this race, hopefully you saw us out there. But a few days before the race, they were kind enough to offer the Back of the Pack podcast a table. And so we had a table and a tent at the start line where we were able to sell shirts, hand out wristbands, hand out stickers. Our producer, Katie, was able to come up with signage, which was great. I think we looked really good, but it was our first foray into having a table and a tent and being at a race like that in that manner. And I thought it was really good. It sounded like it was really positive. I got to talk to people before and after my particular race. There were a lot of people who, had heard of us. And then there were some people we were new to. But either way, if we met you and you're listening right now at the Law Dog race at the start line at our tent, thank you so much for listening, for coming on board. It was really a lot of fun to get to talk to people and just kind of get a feel for some of these runners in the community. And a lot of them are kind of, on board with this, on board with the back of the pack mindset of, hey, we're not all elites. Some of us just like to go out and run. Some of us use this to stay healthy. Our times may not be the greatest in the world, but you know what? We're still out there having fun. And I think we're just getting the most out of our race registration. If you're done in 15 minutes, you didn't get the most out of your money. That's not the best bang for your buck. So for all of us, we're out there, we enjoy it. So it was great. It was really great to meet everyone. And thank you for everyone who came out. And again, even though there were issues, the race took ownership of these issues. So I am looking forward to going back and doing this race next year. Next off, Sunday, I did not run. I actually went and volunteered-ish at a race. So Sunday morning was the Shawnee Mission Triathlon. And I went and did this last year where we just kind of cheered people on through the veteran outreach organization that I am associated with. So we were out there, we set up a cheer station. We lined the course with American flags. We had our tent set up. We played music. We had cowbells. We rang them for everyone. We yelled, we screamed encouragement, and had a great morning at the Shawnee Mission Triathlon. That is why my voice is garbage. I can tell you right now that I am trying to project this voice as best I can, but oh my goodness, my voice is gone right now, and it's going to keep cutting out on me. But it was a great morning. One of the back of the packettes, my 15-year-old daughter, was up at 4:45 in the morning to go with me out to that race and cheer people on. So good job out of my oldest child person, because we had to be out there early. You had to be in the park by 5:30 because they shut it down. They weren't letting people in or out of that park. And so we had to be there really early. But again, that was such a great experience. As much as I love going to races, and races are great, triathlons are just as much fun, especially to watch and encourage people. Because man, that bike ride, especially in that park with as hilly as it is, those people were dying out there. And it was mid 80s and kind of humid today. So I know it was not comfortable. I mean, I am exhausted myself. And that was just me cheering people on and standing outside all morning. Those people doing these bike loops over and over and over again, those people were studs. And great job to everyone who went and did the Shawnee Mission Triathlon, to all the finishers. We did not leave until the last person passed us. That guy, I know he was having a rough day, but man, good job on you. Whoever you are, the last guy for the Shawnee Mission Triathlon, great job. I know you finished because you had every opportunity and every chance to quit that race, and you did not. You were at the transition. We heard on the radio that the last biker was at transition. He was transitioning from bike to running. And then sure enough, here you come up the hill. It was great. And I'm really glad that guy stuck with it and owned that race, because man, it's brutal. Shawnee Mission Park is hilly. And so you have to run it, you have to bike it, and it is unforgiving. But yeah, we had a great morning out there at the cheer station. So again, congrats to everyone who finished the Shawnee Mission Triathlon today. I am not a triathlon finisher, never even attempted it. So great job out of you guys. Like, that is really cool stuff. And then the last thing, I want you to stay tuned here in just a little bit, because we have a very special guest coming on next week. And I'm going to tell you about that here in just a minute, but I want you to stick with me, and I want you to hear about this awesome guest that we have coming on next week. You guys are not going to want to miss this. All right. So the little, every show we try and do something along the lines of tips or tricks, or, kind of related to what we were talking about. And as I told you guys at the start, we did the Law Dog 10K. Both my daughters did it. Their very first 10K. They both have plenty of 5Ks under their belt. They've done those in abundance, but they have never done a 10K. And so that got me thinking, I wonder what kind of the rules or guidelines or tips or tricks are for kids in distance running. Because I'm sure you all have been at races and you've seen a kid go by you and you think, man, that kid looks like they're way too young to be running this race. Like, how is someone going to have their little whatever-year-old running a 5K or running a 10K? I hate the ones where I see them running a half and they just pass me like I'm standing still. And then we've also been on the courses with the kids at races, and then maybe it's more the laid-back races or the fun races, and these kids don't know anything. And, they sprint for 30 seconds and then they stop. And when they stop directly in front of you. And it totally, you have to dodge left or dodge right or just hit your brakes or whatever. And you got little kids and they're running and they're turning around and they're looking behind them. And then they run into the back of the runner in front of them. I mean, kids are dopey. That's what kids are supposed to be. Should those kids be out on a course? Should a trained kid be out on the course? when's old enough to run a distance race and what's too young. And so I wanted to just kind of look at that and find maybe just a few things about kids and running. And so here's one that I've got. This is from American Adventure Sports. And they just kind of give, I think it's seven tips for kids and running. I'm going to go through a few of these with you just so you know what they are. Because maybe you've got a kid who wants to run with mom and dad and do a race. And, what's too young? Well, let's find out. So the number one rule is start at the right age. Regular exercise is certainly important for children of all ages, but consistent training and excessive exercise can interfere with a child's physical development. Between the ages of 3 and 9, kids can enjoy running for fun. Ages 8 to 12 is an excellent range to get your child involved in some more organized running activities like summer running program. However, it's not until ages 12 and 14 for girls and boys respectively that you should really get them started on an individual training regimen. These ages are when you can typically expect your child to start puberty, which will see them through critical developmental changes. During these changes, you can tap into their endurance and distance learning. So I thought that was interesting. My oldest daughter did her first 5K at 10 years old. And of course, she did well and she did better than me. Kind of cooled her jets on running for a few years after that. Kind of went hard for a year and then took a few years off, kind of getting back into it now. And then my youngest daughter did her first 5K, I think also at 10. She too kind of cooled off, but is getting back into it. Now, my youngest got really into soccer. So she has been playing soccer. And when you are playing soccer on a Saturday afternoon, you really probably shouldn't be running a 5K in the morning. So she kind of gets a pass on that one. But yeah, 10 years old is when I got my kids doing 5Ks, but this was their first 10K and they're much older than 10 now. So that one kind of made sense. Number 2, and this goes for everyone, so I was surprised they put it in here. Number 2 is have the proper running equipment. A runner's most important piece of equipment is their shoes. As your child gets older and reaches their puberty in teen years, buying running shoes becomes pretty simple. However, it can be challenging to find decent running shoes for kids under the age of 12. And then let's be honest, everyone, this is just me, but your kids' feet grow so stinking fast. You really don't want to keep going out there and buying nice running shoes. Am I right? Because good grief, they're going to grow out of them before they even break them in. This goes on to say your child's running shoes should fit properly and offer excellent support to avoid injuries such as shin splints or joint problems. Additionally, buying your kids the right kind of socks can help prevent blisters. Okay, we got that. Number 3, start small and increase distance slowly. Again, I'm not going to read all that. That's no kidding. We know. Number 4, and again, this goes for everyone, stay consistent. Consistency is the key to learning any new skill. If you want to be the best at something, you have to keep practicing. Even those with natural athletic ability need to continually practice if they're going to reach their full potential. Consistency can be difficult for young children, so do your best to keep them on track. This might look like sitting down with them and writing out a simple training schedule, mark the training days on a calendar, and have your child cross them off when they've completed them. For younger children, you might even offer some sort of reward system to help encourage good habits, make training days special bonding days to help them stand out and make your kid want to complete them. Okay. Number 5, stay hydrated. No kidding. We've been over that on several episodes. We're going to continue on. Number 6, emphasize the importance of warm-ups and stretching. This one is super important. Children are very impulsive. So when you say it's time to run, they very well may hop up and start running. Take the time to relay to them the importance of warm-ups and stretching to them. Warming up your body and stretching out before a run can minimize the risk of injury and prepare your muscles for the workout ahead. If you teach your kids this at a young age, it will become second nature. They will soon automatically begin stretching before each training session, and that's a wonderful habit for a long-distance runner to have. This is 100% true. So yesterday at our 10K, I'm stretching before the race because I'm old and I hurt all the time. We finished the race and both my daughters are talking about how much their legs hurt. Like, man, I'm really surprised their legs hurt. I'm like, well, did you guys get stretched out before the race? No. What do you mean, no? No. They didn't stretch at all. They got so caught up in having the Back of the Pack podcast table and just the before race environment and atmosphere. They never stretched. They never stretched out at all. Like, what are you guys doing? You both know better than that. My soccer player knows better than that. She stretches before every game. And then my oldest daughter's running track. You know that as a track athlete, you got to stretch before you run. So here, we're going to go run 6.2 miles and not stretch at all. Yeah, good call, child people. How do you get your intelligence from me? What in the world? Come on. Even I know to stretch. Anyway, number 7, the last one, be a good coach. When you start long distance training at a young age, you are your child's very first coach. They may fall under the leadership of a team or school coach one day, but for now, they're looking up to you to give them good instruction. The best thing you can do to enhance your child's running is to be a good coach. Do your research and learn helpful techniques. Encourage them to do their best and practice positive criticism. Most of all, always believe in them. There will be hard days for both of you, days when your child wants to quit, and days when you don't feel like going for that run. At this moment, your opinion and leadership mean everything, so you must be a good, reliable coach. All very true. So apparently it was me that failed my children in stretching yesterday. It wasn't them. Boy, that does not leave a lot of room for personal accountability now, does it? Sheesh, I feel attacked. So anyway, and then just to give a little different perspective, I went over to Runner's World. You guys know Runner's World. That's where I like to find most of my stuff. And they've just got a few tips and strategies to help ensure our kids are all right when it comes to running. So we're just going to go over these. These are real fast and easy. Make it fun. Play tag, shuttle runs, relay races. They all develop fast twitch fibers, encourage agility, and build social relationships. Another tip, add strength and conditioning. Introduce circuits as part of your drills and warm-ups. Just body weight with a little bit of everything. Try geo-coaching. That's a great way to do a little further on mixed terrain with plenty of natural walk recovery breaks. You know what? I've never heard of geo-coaching before. That's interesting. Running on different terrain. You know what? I'm going to look into this. I feel a geo running show in our future. Next one, run to feel. Encourage them not to push for times or pace in every session, but to listen to their bodies. Check clothes and shoes fit well. Keep an eye on growth spurts and ease off training a little bit if you notice one is underway. Minimize pressure. Remember, we want them to have a healthy, lifelong love for running and exercise. And then here's some red flags to look for. Definitely wanted to mention these. If you are working with your kid on distance running and any of these kind of rear their ugly head, you want to be aware and you might need to back off. You might need to mix things up, change things around, whatever your situation is. You know, you parent your kids. I won't try and parent your kids, but just listen and watch for some of these. Complaining of pain at the interior knees, shins, and heels. Really, I would say any leg pain is something to keep an eye on. Inflammation or swelling, again, another thing to keep an eye on. Moving stiffly or awkwardly in everyday life or when exercising. Feeling consistently tired. Running more than 4 times a week. Pushing hard in every training session. Reluctance to train. Consistently disappointed with performance in sessions or races. I think the first half of those really kind of speak to the physical side of it, but honestly, it's the mental side too. And the mental side is what I feel could be even more detrimental. If your kid checks out, or if they burn out, or if they just want out, trying to push them to continue probably isn't going to work well for you. Now, I get it. There are days where maybe you don't want to run or you don't want to practice. I know I had those even when I played. But, it might be a day, and it might, be few and far between. If they are consistently dreading going to track practice or going running or doing any of this stuff, okay, well, it might be time to reevaluate. Because if they are just dreading it every time, then the passion is gone. And if there's not a passion, then really, what are we even doing? I wanted to really keep my oldest daughter in softball and volleyball, but the passion just seemed to be gone. Once the situation and circumstances changed, so did the desire. And I wasn't just going to keep pushing and fighting for something that just wasn't there. So, yeah, I think if the passion is gone and if it really gets to be a mental thing more than physical, then, maybe give them a little time off. When my kid overdid it or just got a little burnout on running, we backed off. We backed off for a long time. Thankfully, back into it a little bit now, but even not as much as she was before a few years ago. But yeah, just keep an eye on that because, you want them to enjoy this and to do it, lifelong, as it says. Honestly, I wish I had. I remember I used to run and was even told I should have done cross country way back in late middle school, early high school days, but it just was not much desire. I kind of wish I had. I wish I'd picked this up a lot earlier and not picked up running later in life. I first started at 30 years old. Now I'm 42. Wish I had been able to do it longer. I would have a much more impressive medal collection, that's for sure. And as we all know, earmuff your kids, I'm a medal whore. That's just what I am. I don't apologize for it anymore. So there's just a few things around your kids. With my kids going, I wanted to look it up. So if you so desired, tell me, hey, maybe your 12-year-old shouldn't have been running a 10K. I could see where you're coming from on that, but you also don't know my 12-year-old. Holy crap. That soccer monster is just a competitive freak. And it doesn't matter if it's soccer, running, whatever. She wants to win. She wants to win now, and she wants to crush you in the process. So that's where she's at. Both my kids got first place in their age divisions. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. I don't know, but super proud of them on that one. I came in third in the old fogey age division that I'm in. I'll take it. There was more than 3 people in that division. So take that. I came in third out of 4. I always find the age division awards funny because I know if I'm going to get them, it means there wasn't a whole lot of options. That's where we're at. So no races for the Back of the Pack podcast for the next 2 weeks. Okay. We are not back until, actually, I think it's more than 2 weeks. Maybe it's 3 weeks now. We are back on August 6th at the Spencer C. Duncan Make It Count 5K. That is out in Gardner, Kansas. We will be at that race. And then the following day on August 7th, we will be at the Groundhog Run, which is up at the Subtropolis by Worlds of Fun. That is in the underground caves. We'll be doing the 10K on that one. So it's a back-to-back race weekend of 5K, 10K. Yeah, that's in August. So I am really starting to worry about my old Berlin training. I'm just going to be doing what I can, but the Berlin Marathon in September is going to be here before I know it. And guess what? Your big fall race that you're training for, that's going to be here before you know it as well. So we can all just panic together, okay? Because that's what we're going to do. So here we go. Here's next week. Next week, I am on vacation. So in order to plan for next week's vacation, we're still going to have a show. So don't think that you're out. You're in. You're totally in for next week's because this is one of the best ones we've done. We have a guest on next week. His name is Dave Borchard, and he is the race director for the Garmin Kansas City Marathon. Yes, the half marathon and full marathon that we all do around this area in October, the Garmin Kansas City Marathon. This is the big cheese, the head honcho, and he was nice enough to come onto the show. And honestly, sure, you can call it an interview, but really, this is just 2 running geeks talking about running. And that's all this was. And those are my most favorite conversations is when 2 running geeks get together and talk about running. That's all this is. And so we talk running, we talk Kansas City sports to a degree, just a little bit, because he is involved with so much. The World Cup coming to Kansas City, which is huge. We've talked a little Chiefs, little Royals, because he's worked for them all. And then we talk a lot of Garmin Kansas City Marathon. So make sure you tune in next week. You don't want to miss it. It was so much fun. And I think there is a ton of really good information that you guys are going to enjoy. So please, please, please tune in next week for our very special guest. It's everywhere you can get podcasts at, Spotify, iTunes, Spreaker, whatever the one is when you tell your home assistant to pull up podcasts. I don't want to say her name or she'll start talking to me right now. But anywhere you get your podcast, you can get next week's podcast. And you can always go to the website, www.backofthepackpodcast.com. You can listen right from that page right there. And then go to the blog, read about the races that we do, and have fun. But yes, don't miss next week's. Do not sleep on that episode because it was so much fun. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I thank you so much for listening, as always. To all the people, the new friends we made this weekend at the Law Dog 5K who stopped by the tent. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. And to all the people I'm seeing, I keep seeing more and more people at races, either wearing the shirt or saying hello or know who we are. And I can't tell you how great it is. So, all right, everybody, you have a great rest of your Sunday. Do not forget to tune in next week for a very, very, very special interview. And then we'll be back after that. We're just going to keep on running. We are in the dog days of summer, so please stay safe out there. Be careful. Stay hydrated. Get your miles in, especially when it's not 100 degrees. Get them in the morning, get them in the evening, but get them done. All right, that's it. That's it for me. All right. The Back of the Pack podcast is brought to you by OKKC Sports. It is produced by Katie O'Neill. I am your host, Kyle Walker. Thank you very much. We will see you next week.